Hey Saya, Saya, Saya. Can you please close the doors? Yeah, thank you.
All right, so welcome back to my channel, everybody. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit new that I haven't done before. I've wanted to try doing a long form interview with a player for ages, and every single fucking time I've just pussied out. But one player who I've been really enjoying watching recently, and his team has just been the biggest topic of conversation, has been neT, who we have here and very graciously agreed to come on. So thank you for that, first of all, and welcome.
Hey guys, great to meet you.
um,
Uh,
so what I really just want to like talk about is a lot of like your history and how you came to be where you currently are, because I think that compared to a lot of people in NAVCT right now, there's not a ton about you out there. I mean, even when I was like doing research and stuff, I couldn't even like find your age or anything. You could be like
uh,
30 for all I know. So I really just wanted to like delve a little bit into how you got to where you are, because as far as I'm aware, you when you first got into Valorant, actually, let's start there. Like, when was it that you first started playing Valorant, and what made you come to Valorant? Like, was it your first game? Were you somewhere else first?
yeah, so originally, like, I didn't really play games that much prior to, like, Valorant, just because, like, in, like, high school, I was really, like, involved with just, like, everything, like, I was a part of, like, the student council, I was part of the lacrosse team, the wrestling
Oh
team, and the
God.
football team, and, like, as soon as COVID hit, yeah, and then prior to Valorant, prior to COVID, I planned on attending MIT in the year of 2020 and in the year of 2021, but
Wow.
yeah, but and then COVID started and all that kind of came to a halt because like I kind of like reevaluated what I really wanted to do. And I just started playing this new game with my friends called Valorant or just Project A, and I had a lot of fun. And then I played like some games before, but like not really. Like I played Counter-Strike a little bit, but I didn't really like wasn't close to pro at all. I just kind of played for fun. And then as soon as I started playing Valorant. I was pretty good at it, and then like I just started playing more and more, and I enjoyed the game and loved it. And then I like realized after time that I could really take this somewhere. And then like yeah, I just started playing a lot. I made my own teams. I I made this team called like Teal Seam with just like a bunch of young kids. Like I don't know if you've heard of them, like Seven, Larry Banks, and Fly.
Yeah, you were, yeah,
Yeah,
Flyer and Larry Banks. I had that written down. I was like, it's
yeah,
funny how you've all kind of gone different
yeah,
ways and whatever.
yeah. Yeah, but I love those guys. I love all those guys. They're great players and great teammates. But yeah, and then like as soon as that, and then as soon as like after TLC team, I started playing with PSOM on Squirtle Squad, and then like Som got approached by the org called the Guard to build a team, and then like I was the first person that he picked. So then here we are now. Kind of
That's
yeah,
so what?
pretty much.
So okay. So going back to the whole like you were meant to go to MIT. Firstly, what were you gonna do at MIT?
I was gonna study like biophysics, but because like the whole time I wanted to go to medical school, so.
Oh, okay, interesting. I just wanted to bring that one up because I did my degree in physics. My degree's in theoretical
Oh, that's
physics.
awesome.
Yeah, and so whenever I see someone in esports who is like, followed like a similar path, I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
you're like one of us. Um,
Yeah.
but so
That's cool.
you were like really involved in a ton of stuff, like when you're in high school, like.
Yeah.
And then you say that you actually made your own teams when you first came into Valorant. So like I'm getting the vibe that you're definitely a very like proactive person. Like, would you say
Yeah.
that's a pretty good assessment?
Yeah, 100%. I just like to I don't know, I like to keep myself busy and do a lot.
So, at what point in you like starting to play Valorant, you were like playing with your friends and stuff, was it that you wanted to go pro? Because you said there was a point where you realized you could, but like, was that at the same time that you realized actually I really want to do this?
I would say at the time that I started like getting kind of like good trials, like as like I think my first big trial was with andbox.
Hmm.
With andbox, I got approached by Ye, and like he just was like a great like I don't know. I look up to Ye a lot. He was like he's a great figure in esports, and he just like said a lot of good things about me and said he really thought I could make it if I applied myself. So after that, after like a great player like that telling me that he thought I could make it, I just put my full effort into it, and here we are now.
Was it at
So
that
yeah.
point that you like? had the conversation with your family? Like, oh, by the way, I'm not gonna go to MIT. I'm gonna like do this instead.
Yeah, and the reaction at first was pretty harsh just because like I don't know, if you're like an older person, you don't really understand esports or anything about it, so it just seems like you're choosing to like play video games compare like you're choosing to play video games over going to instead of going to one of the most prestigious universities in the world. So if you hear that, you're just like that's just dumb, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Eventually my mom like I really love my mom. She's really supportive of me and just wants to see me happy. So eventually after she started like after she saw like a physical contract and like it was like a livable wage, she like was just uh supportive of me and she just wanted to see me happy. So I'm happy to have her in my life.
Oh, that's so sweet. One of
Yeah.
the really interesting things I find about like those like so you were on a team called Elysium, right? And then
Yeah.
you were on Teal Seam. Did you make
Yeah.
both of those teams?
I didn't make Elysium. So on Elysium I played with Kairos, Cade, uh, Campion, Larry Banks, and then me. And then from Elysium, I really like playing with Cade and Larry Banks and uh Cade, Larry Banks, and what's it called? And Campion. And so I was like, hey, like I think I'm just gonna go separate ways, and I want to make this own team. And I asked them if they want to come with me, and then they came with me, and then Teal Team was formed. And then shortly after making Teal Team, Campion started getting big trials, so we needed to look for two players. And then I think we picked up Bones and Seven, and then eventually things didn't work out with Bones. So then we searched for a new player, and then Fly was like the perfect fit. And then Teal Team kind of just like we kind of like became pretty decent in like the tier two scene. So yeah,
Because the thing that I find really interesting, like looking at your tenure in both of those teams, is that I feel like a lot of like tier two, tier three teams don't last as long as you guys
yeah,
seem to be together. Like, do you
yeah.
think? Like, was that just because you guys were all, as you said, you loved playing with them? Like, was it just like, oh, we all love playing together, or was it like we actively see the value in staying together for a long time?
I think it's a combination of both because like I think like a big mistake of these tier two teams is like they just want to like team hop and like they don't understand the value of having like team chemistry and like getting along with your teammates and understanding each other. And it's just like all loved playing with each other. We all thought we were extremely talented, and we just told each other that if we stuck together, we'll either one get picked up by an academy team or two, like we'll all get great offers and just see each other at the top type of thing.
Did so given that you guys were like such good friends, which is obviously a really like good thing to hit. Do you think that like set high expectations for what to get from like the future teams? Like if you were to get picked up by a big team, like, you know,
Yeah.
do you ever worry that you're going to be picked up by a team and just like fucking hate the people on the roster?
Yeah, that was definitely a big worry. Like coming into the guard, like I made sure that like I had like good chemistry with my teammates outside of the game because that's something that I value. Like if you're gonna spend all your time and it's your like job, right? Like you're gonna want to get along with those people so you can like get so you can just like get your work easier. Like sorry. So you can get like stuff done easier. Like if you want to give out criticism or if it's just things like hanging out every day and like spending 8 hours a day just practicing, like you're gonna want to get along with those people or you're gonna be miserable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
that,
mean,
that
because so you said that some came to you and you were the second person who was on the roster
yeah.
for the guard.
Yeah.
So, was it? Did he ever say like specifically what it was like about you that they wanted to build around, or was it just that they'd seen you play and just were like, we need him on our team?
I think it's like I don't know, like because I didn't really ask, but like I think it was just like I think at that time I was a really like sought out prospect, I guess, and like I think Psalm really like liked playing with me as a teammate just because like when I play like I'm really vocal and like I just do my role very well and like I'm easy to work with and I just want to like do anything to win type of thing. I think it's just kind of like that.
I'm definitely curious because okay, so you had this time on these two teams that lasted for ages. You mentioned that you had your time on andbox, and andbox is like got a little bit of a reputation for being like a feeder team. Like a lot of
Yeah.
players don't stay very long on the andbox roster, and then they get picked
Yeah.
up by like bigger teams. Would you say that
Yeah.
your experience on andbox like you know contributed to that, or was that just like a meme?
I don't even know. Like I was playing with andbox for like a couple months and like I was just waiting like, hey, like I don't know. They just like trialed me once for VCT and that went well, and then like didn't work out. They went with LIFO, which honestly was a good choice for them. And then they trialed me again for like I think a 1 to 2 month period, and I was just kind of just waiting there. I'm like, what's going on? They didn't really like they like I kept asking like, what do you want? Like, what do you guys need from me? Like, do you want anything? Because like I had other trials and they didn't really like say that they. I don't know. It was just really confusing. It was just like didn't really know what was going on. I guess they didn't really like want me enough, and then kind of just went. And then like, and then I was like, hey, like I have like other offers that I, I like you guys have been making me wait for a long time. Like I think I'm just gonna seek out other offers, I guess.
I mean, because when you were with andbox, this was it was kind of the first like big org that you played on,
Yeah,
so to speak, and it was also your first like you played in the NSG championship with them, right? And it was like the
yeah,
first one that you played in that wasn't like an open or a monthly.
yeah.
Was that like a step up? Did you, even though that you weren't with them for very long, and as you say, they decided they wanted someone else instead, was that like a learning process?
Yeah, for sure. Just because like you have to like act different, obviously, when you're like when you're interacting with like 15, 16, 17-year-olds compared to like veteran pros like Vice who've been in the scene for like years. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
like a certain amount of like comparative to like because like my role on Teal Seam, I was like the IGL, and like I was just like I pretty much did everything. Like I made all the strats like with Fly, like I made all the strats. I was just I made the schedule. I like scheduled everything. I was like I pretty much was like the manager of the IGL. I just like did
Oh my
everything
god.
with that team at first, and then like eventually shifting to like a professional organization, you kind of like take a step back and kind of just like soak everything in, just because like you're the rookie. You just have to learn everything and like learn everything from these guys because they've been pro longer than you and they clearly like understand what it takes to like be at that level, if that makes sense.
Was that difficult? Like, so given that you've gone through so much of your life and you've been in like these really proactive, almost leadership roles. You mentioned that you were on like the student council thing, right? And you obviously
Yeah.
to get into a school like MIT have to be very self-driven. Like I've been in
Yeah.
that position. I get it. To have then had a really strong leadership position in whether the inception of the teams that you were on thus far, like the IGLing, the stratting, the planning, whatever, and then be
Yeah.
in a position where you actually have to like you have to show the humility of like backing down a little bit and accepting that you're not at that. Was that like difficult? Because I would imagine, and by all means correct me if I'm wrong, that this is probably one of the first times in your life that you actually were in that position where you did have to do that, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was like I'd say it wasn't really that it's not really that hard for me to like take a step back and like be like from the IGL role, it's like it's more so kind of like weird for me to like not have things really like set up around me and I have to like conform to their system, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like before, like I would like set up everything and like I would kind of like understand like what we're doing. But like when you go into like a new team, this is gonna sound kind of like weird, especially since they're like, professional, but it's kind of like random and they're just like feeling you out and seeing like how you are as a player, I guess. And it's just like it was just like really weird because like there wasn't it's not like there wasn't structure, but like since they're like trialing you, they're not gonna like tell you all their strats and just like do
Right.
everything with you. So it's just like kind of like really weird to have like no structure, especially in as a sentinel player. So it was just like it was just it was just weird. Like it wasn't hard. I don't know. It wasn't like hard to understand or like because like I respect those players a lot, but it was just like really weird. Like not having like a whole strat book. I was just kind of there and I was like, oh.
Yeah, what is that
Guess I'll pick it up
like?
fast.
What is that trial
Oh,
process like? Because if you feel like you have like all eyes on you, but you haven't
yeah.
been given like all of the information.
It's honestly awful because you're just like the whole time you're just there. You're like, do they like me? Do they not? Like you have to like always you have to try to play your best. You have to you're not comfortable. It's just it's not a not a great feeling to be a trial, honestly.
So when you got contacted for the guard, did you have like sort of a wave of relief where you're like, oh my god, I don't have to like prove myself. They already want me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It was great just because like uh, I don't know. I just really don't like trialing just because like it's just like a lot of stress and it's just like you're not going to be comfortable in playing your best. But they understand like the people trialing you understand that too. But it's just like it's nice to like have a secure spot in a team. But even when you make a team, you still have to prove yourself day in and day out. So it's just kind of like I don't know. You always have to just strive to be the best version of yourself, which is like a part of being a professional.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was actually going to ask, because if you skip out like the stress of having to prove yourself in the trial, but then if they've already picked you up because they've got this idea of like what you can do and who you are, do you then feel stress about like having to live up to that expectation?
100%. Like for me, like as a person, I just really like strive to be like the best on the team, just because like not because like I want the best stats or like anything like that. It's just because like I want to like I strive to be the best version of myself, and like I'm very confident. I think like I can be like the best player in the server. So it's just kind of like not really an ego thing, but it's just like I don't know how to describe it honestly, but it's just like pressure. There's just like always like constant pressure of just like wanting to like improve and like be better, I guess. So it's just like regardless of like if you're a trial or even if I'm just like a solidified player of the team, I like as a person always just have that like pressure on me just to like improve and be better, I guess.
Do you think that attitude is like part of what has made you attractive to other teams, like as you've kind of grown through the system? Because I can imagine like going through everything, there's probably a lot of people who are also great sentinels, right? But like the
Mhm.
thing that's gonna set you apart, especially, is like it can be a very like underrated role.
Yeah, I think so 100%. I think like having a chip on your sorry, on your shoulder is like a big intangible that like a lot of people in the scene don't have, because like I think a big problem in the 2 NA scene is like ego and like complacentness, just because like I don't know, like I see a lot of people that have been like pro since the game came out, and they're still like at the same level they were since the game came out, and it's just like you have all these resources, like what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything, but it's like, come on, guys. Yeah.
Do you think that's an NA scene thing?
Um, I'm not sure about the EU scene. Like, I kind of think so, just because like if you looked at the beginning, like NA was clearly better than EU because Sentinels went like 3-0 in Berlin, and then like you saw like these European teams, they have the culture. Like, I think the practice culture in Europe is definitely better, because like you saw like it only took like a couple months for Europe to like pass them up, and I would say like yeah, definitely now that I'd say it's more I don't know, I haven't really, like I'm not in the European scene, so I have no idea, so
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
could
of
be wrong,
course.
but I could be wrong, but, like, if you just look at, like, the results, like, the top like, top 3 teams and, champions were European, so
It's just I find it funny because like
yes.
I've been through a number of different esports, and it's an argument that I've seen in like basically all of them, is people always like, oh, these NA players, the tier 2 NA, they're so lazy, like they don't have the same drive and whatever. So it's just interesting to hear you say that, like as someone who's been through that process and feels like your proactivity and your like hard work and determination is really like what sprung you forward to feel like even now that's still maybe an issue in the scene.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's more, like, evident, like, at the tier 2, like, the higher 2 tier level or, like, tier 1 level, just because, like, these people, like, work hard to, like, get to the point of being pro, and then as soon as they make it, they're like they think that they've made it, and they don't realize that once you
Right.
go pro, you have to work even harder, just because, like, the level of competition that you're playing is, like, on a different level. It's, like, it's just like, it's just way better. So you have to, like, work even harder to even just be mediocre at a tier 1 level, so it's just, like I think that's, like, the biggest problem, like, I think the biggest problem is, like, as soon as people make it onto a pro team, they just get lazy because they think, like, they're making good money, and they're just like, "Hey, like, I can just ride this out," instead of, like, wanting to be the best version of themselves as a player.
Was there ever a point where you worried about you kind of slipping into that?
Not really, honestly, just because, like, I'm really, like, hard on myself, and I always just wanna be the best version of myself, so I haven't really, like, ever had that thought process of, like, "Hey, maybe I can just ride this out." It's always like, "I need to be better, I wanna be better, I wanna be the best," type of thing.
It's funny 'cause I noticed like on your like Discord like tagline thing is like the
Yeah.
classic like no one cares, work harder. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, he knows. He's got the
Yeah.
right attitude. Did
Yeah.
so like there must have been then well, actually, maybe there weren't. You can tell me. But like, were there ever any instances where it looked like maybe there was going to be a team who was going to pick you up or showed interest in you, and like you didn't quite make the cut, and then you've kind of had that setback?
Yeah, I think for sure a big point of that was andbox. I was kind of like waiting there for like 1 to 2 months just to like chilling. I thought I was gonna make it, like, and they kind of told me like they were really interested. And like you have to understand, like when you're a big trial prospect and these other teams are interested in you, like you can't just like wait for a team. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because if you have other offers, and like andbox to me was a very nice opportunity just because like I respected like the coach and the players on that team, and I was just like excited to like start in the scene, but didn't work out just because they made me wait for like a long time. So yeah.
But you had other org. It's not like you pulled. Well, I don't want to say pulled out, but it's not like you came away from that being worried, like, oh well, you know what, now what?
Oh yeah, I was confident in my ability to find a team, so I wasn't really like too worried, but it was just kind of just like annoying to kind of just like wait for that long, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. So then, when the guard got put together, because so obviously for those who don't know, the guard are the organization that own the LA Gorillas and the LA Gladiators. So even though to many people they might not be a name that they recognize, it's not that they're just some small like org being run out of some dude's shed. Like this is a legitimate organization,
Yeah.
but still kind of came out of nowhere to an extent. Now, obviously, your current position in NAVCT is something that we will get onto at some point. But how did you kind of face the basically what was in front of you? Like you were not one of the 4 teams who were guaranteed to get into NAVCT. You had to qualify just like everybody else, and you were going up against some big names.
Mhm. Yeah, so I don't know. I'd say like we knew going into VCT that we were like honestly like we didn't expect to get this far, like have the 4-0 record that we have right now, but we expected, like we all knew we were talented, and we all knew that like we knew that we were a good team, and we expected to make the close qualifiers, but like to go 4-0 is honestly like pretty surprising. It's a pleasant surprise to say the least, but uh, I don't know. Like we just knew going into it that we were just really talented and that we worked very hard. We worked harder than any team we work harder than any team in NA, in my opinion. Honestly, we just play like at least 5 scrims a day combined with an hour of VOD review. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but a lot of these teams are only doing like 3 to 4 scrims a day, so it's just like
I just like
it seems,
immediate.
it look like-
Whenever I hear about like pro player schedules and like a lot of players will have 6-day weeks, some of them
yeah.
even like a 7-day week. But even just like the idea of you play that many scrims like in a dark room, your spine's gonna be fucking killing you by the end. And I'm
Yeah.
always like, yeah, I could not hack that lifestyle. Like I have massive
Yeah.
respect to the people who can, but I would not be able to do that. It's crazy. So when you say like 5 scrims a day doesn't sound like that much, I'm like, oh my god, like yes it does.
Yeah.
Oh my
I,
goodness, that's nuts.
yeah, I would say it's just like really mentally draining just because like our coach, we have a great coach and we have a great culture on the team where like we always like every scrim we try to like put our full effort in because like that's the only way we're gonna see like drastic improvement. So it's like I'd say it's more like a mental battle of just like staying focused and like trying not to like make mistakes and focusing on the things that you're trying to improve upon. So it's just like yeah.
What are big things that you do to kind of like maintain that focus?
Um I would say like I asked like I want to like thank Ye for this because like a big thing that I do is like I write down goals that I want to like that I focus on for the day, and then I just focus on those goals and I make sure that I'm improving on those things.
Hmm.
And like what and while yeah, focusing on those things, it really like helps. I'd say it really helps with my improvement just because like there are certain like instead of like aimlessly like going around the scrim trying to win it, there's things that I'm focusing on that really like translate in game and like help. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you're not like letting yourself get like so distracted by what
Yeah.
everybody else is doing. That is,
Yeah.
I wish I were good at that. Like when, so you say it was Ye who taught you that?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that for?
I'd say for like the past 2 months, like
Yeah.
since my start on the team, and I'd say it's really helped, honestly.
I mean, that's really cool. You were mentioning before how your coach MC is a really big part of, like, he's a great coach and he's a big part of why your team has found success. What is
Yeah.
it that you would say that makes him stand out compared to other coaches you've worked with?
I'd say like he has a great mind for the game first off, and like he just really understands like what teams are doing and why, and like just how the game works overall. But I also say like another great part is like he puts a great culture in place to where like he like understands that we're like great players and that we're like really talented, but he just wants to make sure that like he's pretty brutal about it. Like no matter how good you are, like if you don't work your hardest or if you don't put your full effort in, like you're not you can't just like you're not gonna be here if you're just like not putting the
Yeah.
necessary things, like you know what I mean? Like your spot on the team isn't guaranteed at all. Like at any time, you just always have to like put your full effort in and just prove that you deserve to yeah, prove that you deserve to be here type of thing.
So, like, yeah, constantly lighting the fire under your ass, but like
Yeah,
also, I like kind of, well, how it sounds like you're describing is that he trusts you guys to do what your job is. Like he doesn't
yeah,
undermine why you're there. Like he understands you're the player, you're the one
yeah,
who we've brought you on to be like the best sentinel in North America, right? For
yeah,
example, that because that's something that I've heard from like some people is that it can make a big difference in coaching, is like if a coach is trying to coach you to do something that is not necessarily to your strengths, you're still not going to find success.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Like he's really good at like understanding like I don't know, I'd say, like, honestly, like, as a team, like, it's really good because, like, I'd say everyone on the team is really flexible and we can play, like, multiple different agents, so it's not really a problem where we have to, like, because I know with some teams, like, there's some people where their sentinels can, like, only play chamber, or, like, their players can only play jet, they're, like, they can only play Reyna, but, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say on our team, it's not an issue at all, like, everyone on the team is flexible and, like, we can play every agent, so it's, like, really nice, and I'd say we really don't run into the issue of, like, focusing on our strengths. It's more just like improving every day, which is like a really nice feeling, honestly.
I have to ask. So yeah, you say you feel like you're super flexible, and I mean I feel like we see you on a lot of Killjoy, particularly at the moment, and I
Mhm.
think actually watching you play Killjoy is what made me first like really pay attention to you as a player. I was like, all right, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
But like, what was
Thank
it
you.
that originally drew you to the Sentinel role?
It's just honestly because like I really like lurking and like because when I first started playing, like I played duelist because like I was the most mechanically talented player on my team.
Okay.
But like my team was playing like, yo, dude, you have to stop baiting and lurking on duelist. And I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then like I switched over to Sentinel, and it was honestly like a really easy like it felt just really nice just because like I really like enjoy like anchoring bomb sites and like locking it down and like lurking and trying to find timings around people. So that's pretty much how it started.
That makes sense. So you find it actually like plays into your natural inclination.
Yeah, 100%.
That's pretty cool. Is it kind of strange going from that, like, I'm playing the duelist and I'm the star player and I'm the one that everyone's talking about, to then going to what is arguably like the least flashy role on the team?
I'd say to an extent, I'd say the biggest like cultural, not cultural shock, sorry, the biggest shock for me was like starting. So throughout my like tenure in the tier two scene, I was like the star player of the team, and I'm like I set myself up really hard,
Hmm.
I guess. And then like going into a team like the guard where you pretty much have like five superstars where everyone is like really talented and can take over games, like it was really like hard for me to like take that step back and like understand like if I'm doing my job, it's setting up my team to win type of thing. Because like going in from the tier two scene, like a big like thought process of like you need to have good stats to get picked up. ACS and like ADR, like you're just
Yeah.
focused on that. It's like I needed to be good at this, need to be good, need to be good. But like in reality, like as soon as you make the shift from the tier one, it doesn't really matter at all. And like all that matters is like you doing your job and like helping your team to win and enabling them to be in positions to win, if that makes sense. Because I'm doing my job where I'm locking down my bomb sites and denying information of the other team and access to areas of the map. It really like helps my team with information wise of being able to rotate properly so they can stack that bomb site where the other team is hitting, if that makes sense. So I say like yeah, the biggest part for me was probably like switching over from the tier two to tier one scene and understanding of like taking a step back and being a role player. Yeah.
Do you think that's a problem with tier 2 that they look at things like that for like the wrong roles?
Yeah, I'd say 100%. I'd say like the biggest problem of like these tier 1 teams trying to like pick up like duelists and then switch them over to like smokes or sentinel when like you can just pick up a smokes player or a sentinel player that's doing their job very well instead of like trying to like switch, because sentinel and like duelist or duelist and smokes is like a completely different play style. It's like a completely different play style. So like why even try to do that, especially like in an environment where it's going to be so much more different, so that player is just going to be uncomfortable overall, if that makes sense.
Yeah, is that more like a thing to do with like coaches in the tier 2 scene who are just like looking at the wrong, like what do you think actually has led to that being a problem?
Um, I just think like the scouting process, because like I think it's a big problem where people just think good stats makes a good player when that's not the reality at all. Like you don't understand like how much value can someone can bring to the team just by doing their job at a high level, if that makes sense.
I'm like, you say that and I'm thinking, Reddit, is that you? I mean, is
Yeah.
so given that you're playing the sentinel role, you've come into this team, and as you say, it's like there's 5 superstars and that attention is going to be everywhere. Obviously Saya, I come from originally Overwatch, so I was already very
Yeah.
familiar with who Saya was.
Yeah.
But someone who a lot of people have been talking about at the moment is Trent. Do you ever get like just a little bit like, I wish they were talking about me?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's just like credit should go where credit's due. Trent's an incredible player, size incredible. Honestly, like I think the player that doesn't get enough credit, near enough credit, is Valyn. I think while being in IGL and being able to perform at a high level is just like amazing to me. Honestly, he makes great calls. He does his role very well. He doesn't like play for stats like some of these Astros do. Like I see some of these Astros and they have like a .14 first death per round as an Astro, which is like, dude, like, come on, man. Like,
Astra entry, let's go.
yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, let your duels do their job. But no, I'd say like, and especially like Jonah P too. Like, Jonah's really good at like setting up his teammates and like understanding what he needs to do to like enable players like Saya and Trent to get their kills. So like, honestly, shout out to Valyn and Jonah. I don't think they get near enough the credit that they deserve.
Yeah, I definitely think that when I started like paying attention to the team, Valyn was definitely one of those players who I was also, because I think controllers can also be that role it's because it's less flashy, it can be less difficult to really like spot where the value comes out. But
Yeah,
I think one thing that I've always found really impressive about the guard is, and this is something that I've found really impressive about the way you play particularly, but it can be applied to a number of people on the team, is like the positioning. Like the way you guys position yourselves is usually very well timed and very well done to then be able to execute however you're going to do or defend however you're going to do. Is that
yeah.
something that specifically comes from like Valyn's leadership?
I would say it's like put into the system that it's more so by the system that MCU has put in place. Like he's really taught us like good fundamentals and like how to position ourselves so where we can play off our teammates very well. And then like with that system, Valorant is like understood. Like I think honestly everyone on the team has just a good understanding of just like what they need to do as their role. And Valorant's just really good at like calling a system where like those players can shine and do their job very well, if that makes sense.
Has it taken you by surprise to have succeeded as much as you are right now?
Honestly, it has, because like going into it, like I said, like I was expecting to make close, but like to go undefeated is kind of like wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of just like wow. Like it's I mean it's a great feeling. Like I'm not surprised. Like I'm not super surprised, but I'm saying like I'm. It's a I don't know. It's like a delightful like little surprise, I guess, because like I don't know. I have high expectations for our team and like for myself, but like I didn't expect to find success this early. So it's a
Who
good
was
feeling.
the VCT team who you thought you were going to find the hardest?
Cloud9, honestly, and we still haven't played them, but like out of the four that we've played so far, probably like XSET.
Mhm.
And honestly, that game was really easy. So I don't know.
What is it you find so easy about it?
I don't know. Like I would say for map one on Haven, I'd say it was pretty dumb for them to give us Haven just because Haven's our best map. and like that kind of wasn't expected even while we threw some crucial rounds, still 13-7. And then on bind, I had a really poor performance and we threw some crucial rounds there too. Honestly, like they got like I don't know, they're a great team and like they played the map well. But like there were some rounds where they were just getting lucky, man. Like Def would sit in smokes back to back rounds and get 2Ks just because like the smokes faded at a certain time where no one was looking at it. And I would say like that's credit to him like for making a heads up play. But I would say like that's kind of like just like dumb of us like not be expecting like or not calling when the smokes are dropping. So like shout out to them for making heads up plays when they needed to. But and then on Fracture, I just think they didn't really have a chance. Like we had great setups and we were just all hitting our shots and we were just on fire, honestly, and we just played well as a team.
So, I mean, you mentioned in there, like, there being the issue with, yeah, maybe our calls weren't good enough on this map. How much do you think that has specifically improved from, like, the start of the stage, and not even necessarily, like, qualifiers, like, the actual stage to where you are now?
I'd say as a team we're just improving like drastically day by day. It's just like if you watch our VODs comparative to like week one, okay, maybe not EG, but like week one to week three, I'd say like the improvement is like apparent just because like you can tell that like our setups are better, like we're playing off of each other better because like every like week we're like understanding like what is going wrong. And if you just look at like the Fracture week one VOD to week three, it's just like light years better, honestly.
What do you think is the biggest thing that you've improved on?
As a team or individually?
Both?
As a team, I would just say like Mm, I would just say like understanding of like having good setups just because like we're a new team, so we're just gonna kind of like struggle with that. But like we've just been improving on it just by putting in the work. And I'd say like individually by like accepting my role as like the role player and like doing my job, honestly, because I think at the beginning I was like trying to do too much and I was like forcing things to try to seem like a good player. And like I think I've really understood like I if I do my job, then we win type of thing.
So yeah, as you say, you're yet to play Cloud9, and I look, as a fan, I'm stoked for that game because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very openly a big Cloud9 fan. I love the way that they play, and you guys have naturally been very impressive, undefeated right now. What do you think is going to be the hardest thing going into that game?
I think the hardest thing is like, I think as a team, they have like great call. I don't know. I just think they're really solid as a team overall. They have five really talented individuals and they have great caller and Vanity. And so I just think like the biggest thing that we're gonna have to be like to watch out for is their aggression because I think my expectations going into the game is at first they're gonna just try to disrespect us and put us down since we're a new team. But I think like dealing with that team's mechanical talent and like just honestly like quick thinking is just going to be like we're just going to have to adjust very quickly to what they do because I think they're just going to give us some new looks that we wouldn't expect, so we're just going to have to adjust well in order to overcome whatever they throw at us, honestly.
So obviously, what comes out after that, you've qualified for the playoffs, and then you're going to be joining in with this fight to get to the top two because that's the only way that you're going to be able to qualify for Masters, which seems so cruel at this point because everyone's talking about specifically this top four in NA, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
how do you pick which two teams you think are going to be the ones that get to the grand finals, right? Now, obviously, that's
Yeah.
going to be what you're vying for. And this, I think I probably know the answer to this, but do you think you're going to make it to the grand finals?
Yeah, I think we'll make it for sure. Is like if we're having a great day and playing well as a team, I think we can beat anyone, honestly. That's
What if
just
you're
like
not having a great day?
if we're not having a great day, I think then it gets a little shaky, but I still think we can make it. I still think we can make it, honestly.
Okay. Well, the thing then is obviously, assume you get into the grand finals, we're going to LAN. For most of your team, that's new.
Yeah.
How do you think that
100%.
would be? That must be because that'd be a very different environment.
Yeah. I think it'd be a very different environment, but like realistically, like we're kind of like it would kind of just be the same for us just because like there wouldn't really be a crowd there and like we're already here at the complexity facility. We've been playing next to each other for like 2 months now. So I think it would be kind of just like an easy shift. I guess
Okay.
I think the only like different thing would be like the style of teams because I think every region has its own style and like identity. And then I think that'd be the only like we just have to adjust like what they're doing and like we'd have to understand what they're doing type of thing. But I think like the LAN environment wouldn't be too difficult just because there's no crowd. And I think maybe when there's a crowd,
Okay.
some people would be affected by it. But we have people like Sai on the team who's been a veteran for X amount of years. I'm not exactly sure, but he's played hundreds of officials in person, so I don't think he'd care at all.
So when the crowd comes along, do you think that's something that you would find difficult?
Maybe a little bit, honestly, just because like the nerves would just be kind of there. But I think like getting some matches under my belt, I think would be an easy shift, honestly.
Did you ever do anything public facing back when you were like in school and doing all of your stuff and being like a valedictorian? I don't know.
Oh,
Was that what you were?
I wasn't the valedictorian. I'll give that to one of my friends.
we
That guy
we
was a
don't we don't have those in this country, so
that guy was a genius, dude. But no, I wasn't valedictorian, but I did do like a lot of like public things. Like I'm not really nervous in public just because like being a part of like student council and like
Mhm.
especially like a member of like sports teams, you're just gonna be naturally in front of like a lot of crowds. So like crowds aren't like a big deal to me, but like I haven't exactly like experienced the scale of like some of these tournaments like ESL Cologne or like Overwatch where there's like 50,000 people. I'd say that's like a pretty big shift from like a couple hundred. But yeah.
There'd be like the biggest student council in the world.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that would be wild. I'm actually intrigued. So if you had just followed the path that you were originally intending to follow, do you think you would have done anything during university that would like compare to this? Like some high level of competition?
Yeah, I was planning on playing lacrosse at MIT just because like it's not Division 1, but it's just like I really do love playing and like I think it's a great way to like keep myself busy and just like I still love lacrosse and I love the game and it's just like I think like that's I honestly know that's what I would be doing right now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ever get a chance to still do that now?
Not really honestly, just because like there's no one to play with, but like
Oh.
yeah, but I think like when I go back home or like when I move to if when we eventually move to California, I'll try to find like a group of people to play with just because like I really do love doing it.
Yeah, so you're in the complexity facility right now. Is that in Texas?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in yeah, it is in Texas.
Oh, okay. So when is the plan to move to California?
As soon as this like VCT circuit's over, I think we're gonna be moving as a team to California.
Okay, that would be cool. And then yeah, you'll try and get involved in those things when you're there.
Yeah, 100%.
Is so with the time that you have outside of like your scrims and work and stuff like that now, what do you do with that?
I mean, outside of scrims, I try to focus on just like I don't know, like I've been playing like Valorant like 12 hours a day, so like outside of scrims, I just try to like keep my mind and body healthy. So like I just spend time with friends or go to the gym type of thing, but that's pretty much it. Like we don't really have like I don't know, like we kind of come here like in like a rental, like I don't know, we come here together in like a car, so like we don't really have time to like do other stuff except for like go to the gym and play
Yeah.
Valorant type of
Do you
thing.
do you think that's an important thing though for like a pro player? Because I can imagine there's probably quite a lot of like young guys who are pro players who fold their spine while they're scrimming and then they go home and they fold their spine some more and like
Yeah.
also just the mental aspects of like keeping yourself healthy through exercise and whatever.
Oh yeah, I think so 100% because I think like with I think for me at least like my physical health is like in line with my mental health and I think mental health as like a player is super important. So like anything you can do to like improve that or like help with that is like super important, honestly.
Is that something that the team, the org helps with at all?
Yeah, 100%. They like provide great resources through this company called 1HP and we have access to mental health specialists, dietitians, and a physical health specialist. So it's really like grateful to the org that they provide us with great services like that.
Yeah, that's awesome because I think that's something that like only really in like recent years has become a bit more of a big thing. But like even talking as an outsider, I feel like when you've got all of these like young men for the most part who are like coming straight out of school and suddenly in this very high pressure competitive situation, like I wouldn't want to be going through that without that kind of support.
Yeah,
Man,
100%.
that would be nuts. So, so you were saying you think LAN will be easy, no audience.
Yeah.
But one thing that you did mention, of course, is that the thing that you would find really difficult, or that you would have to feel out at the LAN, of course, would be facing international teams. So,
Mhm.
what? Let's assume that like all these amazing teams coming from every single region or every single major region at least, like which regions do you think you would find the hardest to play against?
Probably, I think the most difficult would be regions like Just Europe, just because like I think they're just dominant and throughout the international scene, and there's a reason why, just because they're really good at what they do. And you kind of like they play more of like a defaulty like slower style compared to NA, so like that would be kind of like weird to get used to, I guess, because NA is very like aggressive and like in your face. And so like compared to like EU where they're I could be wrong, but it seems like Gambit are just like really slow and defaulty and they'll just try to like pick you apart. And it's really hard to like kill them on their default. So it's just like that would be like a tough thing to like get used to compared to like North America where you'll probably get an engagement in the first 20 seconds of the round. So
Right.
yeah. So
Do
that's gonna
you
be it.
do you think NA can like be better than EU at this next Masters?
I think so. I think so, yeah. I think like we have a lot of talent. I'm not saying like Europe is not talented, but I think that like I just think that like NA has like the resources and like we have the talent to do it, but it's just like it's just gonna be like a matter of like we have to put our head down and just like really create a good culture of like scrimming here because honestly like a lot of the times when I'm scrimming these games, it's like, what are you doing? Like how is this productive to your time type of
Oh
thing?
my god, that's so harsh.
Yeah.
I guess when you're like beating all of the North American competition, like there must be a part of you that's like, well, why is it that we find this so easy? Like, what is everyone
Yeah.
else doing wrong? It really
Yeah.
like one thing that your team reminds me of, and I don't know if this is something that Sire would maybe remember, but there was this tier 2 team in Overwatch that came along, just 6 random players who people hadn't really heard of before, and they were called Clockwork Vendetta, and they
Yeah.
had their own comp and just like demolished everyone. And it was like, where the fuck did they come from? And like, why are they finding this so easy? Like, that's kind of what the guard reminds me of a little bit, is just like,
Yeah.
okay, you've kind of come out of nowhere and suddenly like you're the best in the region. Like, what do you know that everyone else doesn't?
I don't know, honestly. I think it's like a huge cultural thing because I think a lot of teams in I don't know. I honestly just think like a lot of teams in North America don't practice in an efficient way and they don't like they get really complacent and even like once they find like a hint of success, they get really like lazy and they don't like try to keep on improving because like a big thing my coach says is like the hardest part isn't getting like to the top. The hardest part is like consistently staying there and trying to be at that level at a consistent rate type of thing.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense, like, and how you've been describing like the I suppose approach that you have to putting in the work, and not just assuming that like because you're at the top now means you're going to stay at the top,
Mhm.
but you still think you're going to
100%.
make grand finals. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to assume we're the best, but we're definitely going to make grand finals.
Yeah.
I mean, so one thing that I have to ask though, kind of going all the way back to the beginning,
Mhm.
is there ever a part of you that wonders what it would have been if you hadn't have taken this path and you had still have stuck to the original plan?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that like I would be fine just because like in school like I didn't really like struggle with anything like that, but like I think like I definitely would not be having like as much fun because I think like being a professional in any like type of way is like a life-changing opportunity and I'm
Mhm.
really fortunate to be in the position that I am. And so like I'd say that like I think I'd be like less happy and I experience like a lot less because like traveling to like all these different places and like being able to like do all these different things is like only possible just because I'm working with such a great org and great people.
Does it feel wild to know that like there are so many people who want to be able to achieve even a fraction of what you've achieved, and like somehow it's you who's the one who achieved that?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, like it's great because like it's important to keep yourself humble, but like I really think that like I work really hard and like I'm here for a reason type of thing. So
That's
yeah,
wild. That's so cool.
yeah.
Who do you think, in NA at least, is the closest to matching you at how good you are at playing Sentinels?
Like at the Sentinel role.
Yeah, the Sentinel role. Yeah, not
Um,
not playing Sentinels the team.
oh yeah, I'd say Mitch. I think Mitch
Yeah.
is probably the best Sentinel in North America right now, and I think like I don't think I'm the best in North America yet, but I'd give credit to Mitch. I think he's really underrated as a player just because on that team they have 2 stars already in like Leaf and Zeppa, and so I think like he gets undershadowed and he does like way more than people ever like realize. I think he's a really talented player, honestly.
Oh, that's insane. Well, um, It's been insane to learn so much about, like, somehow you're like this genius in school, and then you just have some of the most dedicated and hardworking tier 2 experience. You've been on a team with all of these other players who are now successful in their own right. You know, Flyer, we got Seven, Marta, you were on a team with Alexander, like all of these people, and now here you are. You were hand selected to be on the guard, who are undefeated in VCT NA, and you are guaranteed to be going into playoffs regardless of what happens in this game against Cloud9. And you may find that you are going off to your first ever LAN like next month. Like the whole thing is surreal, and it's been an absolute joy to learn about it. So best of luck with everything. Is there anything that you want to say before we wind down?
Probably just like, I don't know, I just want to say thank you to the fans for their support, and probably just say like shout out to all my teammates, shout out to the organization, shout out to my mom. Thank you for your time.
That was awesome. All right, thank you so much. Good luck with everything, and I'm excited to see what happens with the guard this stage.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.